Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name Ratu Berryl Baressa NPM 234120042 and welcome to this video presentation. Today, we're going to learn about one of the key topics in cost accounting, factory overhead costs, also known as BOP in Indonesian. This topic is essential for understanding how companies calculate the true cost of producing their products, beyond just materials and labor. Let's dive into it. Slide 2. So, what exactly are factory overhead costs? These are all indirect manufacturing costs, meaning they are not directly traceable to a single product like raw materials or direct labor. Instead, they support the overall production process. For example, electricity used to run machines, factory rent, machine depreciation, and the salaries of factory supervisors. Even though we can't link these costs directly to a product, they are still very important in the total production cost. Slide 3. Types of overhead costs. Factory overhead can be categorized into three types based on their behavior in relation to production volume. First, variable overhead. These costs change depending on how much we produce. More production means more electricity and materials used. Second, fixed overhead. These costs stay the same no matter how much we produce. A good example is the rent of the factory. Finally, semi-variable or mixed costs. These contain both fixed and variable components, like a phone bill where there's a basic fee and an additional cost depending on usage. Slide 4. Examples of factory overhead. Here are some specific examples of factory overhead costs: electricity and water used in production, factory building rent, depreciation of machines, salaries for supervisors, and small items like factory tools and supplies. All of these play a supporting role in making sure production runs smoothly, even if they're not directly involved in making a product. Slide 5. Purpose of calculating factory overhead. You might wonder, why do we need to calculate these overhead costs? First, to get the accurate cost of producing a product. This is important for setting the right selling price. Second, to help management make better decisions. And third, to improve efficiency and reduce waste in the production process. Overhead costs give us the complete picture of what it really costs to make something. Slide 6. Methods of overhead allocation. To assign overhead costs to products, companies use different allocation methods. One common way is using a predetermined overhead rate, which is calculated before the production period starts. Another method is using the actual overhead incurred during production. Finally, companies often use labor hours or machine hours as the basis to allocate costs. For example, if a product uses more machine time, it gets assigned more overhead. Slide 7. Overhead rate formula. Here's the formula to calculate the predetermined overhead rate. We divide the estimated total overhead by the estimated number of labor hours or machine hours. For instance, if we expect 100 million rupiah in overhead costs and plan to work 50,000 labor hours, the overhead rate becomes 2,000 rupiah per hour. This rate will then be used to apply overhead to each product. Slide 8. Applying overhead to products. Let's take an example. Suppose it takes 4 hours to produce 1 unit of a product. Using the overhead rate of 2,000 rupiah per hour, the overhead cost assigned to that unit would be 8,000 rupiah. This cost is added to the product's total cost so that it reflects not just direct materials and labor, but also the indirect expenses from the factory. Slide 9. Adjusting overhead at the end of the period. At the end of the accounting period, we may find that the overhead we applied to products is different from the actual overhead we spent. If we applied too much, it's called over-applied overhead. If we applied too little, it's under-applied. In both cases, we need to make adjustments so our financial reports are accurate. This step ensures that the cost of goods sold reflects reality. Slide 10. Conclusion. To wrap it all up, factory overhead costs are a crucial part of the total production cost. They may not be visible in the final product, but they support the production process in many ways. By understanding and correctly assigning these costs, businesses can set fair prices, control costs, and make smarter financial decisions. Cost accounting, including factory overhead, is more than just numbers. It's a tool to manage and grow a business effectively. Thank you for watching. and I hope this explanation was helpful. Thank you.